The all-seeing presence of social media, complexities of grief and loss, teens doing risky things. A24 does it again, and Furman On Film is here to break it all down. Hey film friends, I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman On Film. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be discussing Talk to Me. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces into our world. Okay, well, let's start with what I liked about Talk to Me. It's just nice to know that you're in the presence of smart and crafty directors, isn't it? There are so many places where Talk to Me could resort to cheap jump scares or take the easy way out when it comes to really following its premise to logical ends. And it just never does. Instead, brothers Danny and Michael Philippou have their hands on the steering wheel throughout here. Talk to Me gets all of the basic staples right for a solid indie horror flick. Terrific sound design, spooky atmosphere, gory practical effects, and the directors get really nice performances from their young actors. Sophie Wilde in particular is an entrancing screen presence. But what makes this work a cut above is that it has an actual story. The premise is totally rad, don't get me wrong, but there are also themes behind the simple machinations of these possession sequences. Now, Talk to Me is built around at least three main scenes of possession. In the first, we see all the visuals from Mia, the lead character's perspective. But in the second, we're actually on the outside looking in, like all of the other spectators at the party holding their cell phone cameras. And finally, Riley's possession is absolutely harrowing. Still, I think what really sets this one apart is this hanging sense of dread and unease, which just never leaves us. Talk to Me's relentless bad mood never sells out at all, even up to its crazy conclusion. Okay, so let's move on to what I disliked about Talk to Me. So, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever watched a performance and thought, my God, this person might be awful, but I can't tell if it's just because they can't perform or if they're actually a great actor and just the writing of the character gets under your skin? Well, that's Zoe Terakes as Haley in this one for me. Just drove me nuts. Beyond this, just a few really small questions for us to consider. Is the ending deliciously off-kilter or just a little misguided? And I've actually gone back and forth with this one several times. This is not the first film at all to grapple with themes like grief and teen recklessness. And let's face it, the possession horror trope is about as cliche as it gets. But I do think that this film finds really fresh ways, with Gen Z in mind, of exploring these themes. Still, I think it could be asked if the ending successfully brought all of these threads together. It's obviously shocking and awesome, but does it tie up all of the concepts it had been exploring up to that point? I'll leave that question with you. And lastly, let me tackle a criticism that some people will throw at Talk to Me, which I think is just dead wrong. Because of the Philippou's restraint, they're not just gonna chuck on screen every predictable formulaic scare and gotcha just to create shock and awe. It's actually the fact that so many tears are unseen in Talk to Me that allows that sense of dread to stick around for the entire runtime. And this may cause some to say that it's just not really that scary, but you will never be counting me in that number. Okay, let's move on to some of my own original thoughts and themes of the picture. One of my very favorite horror flicks from the past decade, It Follows, was a lot like Talk to Me. By this I mean a smaller studio terror film which featured exceptional craft, a great story, solid performances, and meaningful themes concerning teens. Now, It Follows was essentially an allegory for STDs and rampant teen promiscuity. But in Talk to Me, I think it's more about the dangers of drug use and the ubiquitous presence of social media. The fact that any and every person will have their phone out to capture the most embarrassing acts in a moment's notice. This has elevated the risk-taking behaviors of adolescents to a whole new level of freakiness. But really think about it with me here for a second. The people who undergo possession in Talk to Me are strapped to a chair, like an arm being tied off to shoot up. They take in the drug, Talk to Me, I let you in. Then comes the high. 90 seconds, eyes up in their head, and then one hell of a come down. They are all exhilarated and stoked about the experience, until things go too far. Oh, except I forgot to mention one thing. The drug that they're imbibing here, yeah, that's deceased spirits. Talk to Me also deals a lot with the complexities and heartbreak of grief, and the ever-present feelings of teen loneliness and estrangement. And it may sideline these things a little bit to get to the ghoulish stuff in the third act, but they're at least a part of the bedrock of the film's world building. So, what do we conclude? Talk to Me is just a delight. An age-old premise with some astute new window dressing. Two YouTube creators turned directors, flashing their chops in an exquisite debut. A film which gets under your skin with its eeriness, its unrelenting heaviness, and the committed performances at its center. This is indie horror cinema at its very best. Well, there you have it. The only thing left to discuss is our rating for this film. FOF gives Talk to Me 4 out of 5 stars. If you enjoyed this review, please let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Also, please don't forget to visit FurmanOnFilm.com for even more movie content. Thanks for watching. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.